He didn't force her. She made those choices all on her own. And now, all she can do is survive the consequences of her actions alone until purpose landed on her doorstep unannounced. Despite painting the walls yellow and the cabinets white to make her tiny kitchen appear larger than what it was, there was barely enough room for her to move around comfortably. With the steam from the pots, the small space was insufferably hot. Miranda, 57, would need to hurry and finish dinner to squeeze in a quick shower before her husband Joe arrived home. She had big news for him that would make him happy. Today, she finally quit her job. As the front receptionist at her company, where she worked for 23 years, one of Miranda's responsibilities was shaping perception and making a wonderful first impression for visitors that included potential clients and business partners. People always gravitated towards her. Colleagues often stopped at her desk, unloading their issues and seeking comfort. In her gentle way, she always seemed to know what to say, delivering compassion and grace. Her coworkers cherished Miranda. That's why it was so difficult for her to put in her resignation letter. Doing so was with a heavy heart, but she felt it was necessary to keep Joe happy. Joe had retired last year and had been pressuring Miranda to quit her job ever since so they could travel the world unrestricted. For the last 3 months, he had become relentless, calling her selfish for hanging on to the job she loved. She first met Joe in college at the dining hall when he accidentally bumped into her while standing in the line at the buffet. He was bossy, but Miranda didn't mind. His pushiness seemed to balance with her patient and easy nature. They dated through college and married a few years after she graduated. Miranda wanted to buy a big house and start a family immediately, but Joe had other plans that did not involve children. Somehow, she had missed that part during their countless conversations. It was a blow and an enormous sacrifice, but she decided not to pressure him, hoping that one day he would change his mind, convincing herself that she would be fine as long as they had each other. On the menu were all his favorites: rack of lamb, risotto, and spinach with her special sauce, followed by banana cake. Miranda planned to surprise him with the news this evening during dinner. She even had a few travel brochures so they could start their planning. Just as Miranda was about to ice the cake, the doorbell rang, followed by an impatient knock. On the other side of the door was a young woman, most likely in her 20s, with pretty long black hair, who reminded Miranda of her niece. "Hello," Miranda greeted. The woman looked past Miranda's shoulders as if she were expecting someone to appear. Miranda's eyes followed the woman's hands as they gripped her belly. Judging from the size, she had to be in her third trimester. "Since he won't tell you, I will. This baby I'm carrying is Joe's. I thought you should know. We are happy, and I want my baby to have both parents living under the same roof when he is born, so you can stop stalling and give him the divorce." As if she were outside of her body, Miranda watched on as the fragments of her life crumbled one piece at a time. In a whirlwind, the drama of their life played out on the porch of her tiny town home. Moments later, screeching tires came to a stop in the driveway, and Joe appeared. For 30 years, Joe had stood by her side, but now, for the first time, he was standing across from her, aligned with his mistress, dumping her. She's right. The baby is mine, and I intend to raise it. Time stood still. Joe looked at Miranda with eyes that had never loved her. He spoke to her as if he were separating from a business partner to pursue other opportunities, like they hadn't shared most of their lives together. You just have to accept that you haven't made me happy for a while now. We had a good run, but now I think it's time for us to go our separate ways. We don't have to make this a big deal. We can act as mature adults and sell the town home. Split everything down the middle except for my retirement. I alone earned that degree and put in those hours working my way up. I don't think I should have to share it. Besides, you are still working, so you can take care of yourself just fine. Miranda never got the chance to tell him she had quit her job. That night, with the help of her friend Danielle, she somehow packed her belongings and moved out of the house. It was odd to have been married for so long and, aside from her clothes, only taking a few boxes of books and keepsakes. With strange clarity, she walked through her home, realizing that there were only a few things that she desired to have, leaving Joe with the rest. Thanks to Danielle, Miranda had somewhere to stay until she could figure things out. The first night after closing the door of the guest bedroom, with her mind still catching up with how her life shattered over a course of a few hours, Miranda undressed, catching a glance at herself in the mirror. Not once during the ordeal did she cry in front of Joe or his mistress. It was as if her heart retreated into a room that kept her numb. With thoughts of the mistress and her full belly on her mind, Miranda stood in the mirror observing herself. Though she was fit, the signs of aging slowly appeared, like the small jagged lines stretching down her neck and the dimples populating her thighs. Where stretch marks should have been was smooth, flat skin. Her hands went to her abdomen, feeling the pangs of emptiness and missed opportunities, since it was far too late for her to have her own children. There she stood, allowing herself to grieve for the years that were not stolen, but handed over freely and placed at Joe's feet. Like the time she got her tubes tied at Joe's insistence because of a false pregnancy scare. How foolish she was to think that time could heal the hole inside her, when it was time that delivered the final blow. Regret racked her body as she knew without a doubt that she had chosen the wrong path, and for that she cried. Weeks passed and Miranda faced a future that she never imagined. Getting so far down the path of life, finding that the road ran out into a dead end. There was security in having a companion to walk through life with, but that evaporated like fine mist. Her once steady and predictable life got sucked up in a torrent, and she was at its mercy with nothing to lock her anchor onto. Surprisingly, Miranda never tried to get her job back because she lost her identity and questioned who she was without Joe. What purpose did she serve? But in another sad circumstance, God threw her a lifeline. Her great uncle Nestor passed away, leaving Miranda with a healthy inheritance. With some of that money, she purchased the house she had always dreamed of, giving her hope that there was life after all she had gone through. The house was enormous, 5 bedrooms, 3.5 baths, with a large kitchen that she always wanted. Her family thought it was too much for one person, but it was what she needed to help herself heal. Tucked underneath a blanket, Miranda sat on the front porch in her rocking chair, holding a cup of coffee, watching the sun rise. It was the most beautiful thing that ever kissed her eyes, watching rays of red, orange, yellow, and purple push the darkness out of the sky. It was her favorite thing to do now that she was single again. It had been 6 months since she had last seen Joe, and 3 months since her divorce became final, but the pain was still raw. In her therapy sessions, she learned something amazing, that she was not grieving the loss of her marriage as much as she was grieving the regret of her decision while married, especially not having children, a deeply rooted desire that she had longed for since being a child. It was hard to understand how Joe had so much influence over her, that she would give up so much under the guise of compromise. Beautiful, isn't it? Danielle asked as she stepped onto the porch, sitting in the chair next to the rocker. You must want to get hurt, sneaking up on people in the dark. Don't act like you didn't hear my car. I made noise. I'm not crazy. What brings you here this early? Miranda asked as she sat her cup of coffee down. You won't answer your phone, and I have been calling you since yesterday afternoon, so I took a chance that you would be out here. I'm desperate and need a favor. I have a case, 3 siblings, a sweet little girl and her 2 little brothers, 11, 6, and 5. They need temporary housing until something becomes available. We are trying to keep them together, but there are no families that will take in 3 kids. I thought maybe you could take them. You have this big old house and are now retired. And you took the classes and went through the screening process 2 years ago. Miranda went through the steps to potentially become a foster parent, but when she told Joe about it, he immediately shut it down. Foster mother, me? Have you lost your mind? Just until we can get them other accommodations. Please, Miranda. I would never ask if it weren't an emergency, especially with what you have been through. But you would be really saving these kids' lives. Miranda's heart sped up, and so many emotions flooded her mind as she tried to process what was being asked of her. Say yes. The voice inside her leaped up like a child. Say yes, it said again, though she resisted, questioning if she could do it. After a few seconds of debate, she couldn't deny what her spirit was telling her. She looked at Danielle and smiled. Yes, I will do it. With the children arriving in days, Miranda had to furnish the extra rooms quickly and buy toys and food. Even though they were only staying temporarily, she wanted to make them feel like this was their home. According to Danielle, they have not had a stable home for some time. For the oldest Ella, Miranda decorated the room pink with a canopy bed and frilly pillows. Since the boys were younger, she put them in the same room with bunk beds, decorating one side with a race car theme for the middle boy Elijah, and the other side with a safari theme for the youngest Robert. On the day the children arrived, Miranda was more nervous than she had ever been. What if they don't like me? She asked herself several times while preparing for them to come. Just as she hung up the last piece of clothing for Elijah, the doorbell rang. She had bought the kids more clothes than they could wear in a year. She knew she was going overboard, but the thought of looking after them brought her more joy than she could hold. Butterflies performed a Broadway musical in Miranda's stomach as she got closer to the front door. She hoped and prayed that the children would like her and the home she prepared for them in the short time she had. The first few days with Ella, Elijah, and Robert were difficult. While the youngest Robert adjusted to his new home quickly, Ella and Elijah, who were older, had a harder time. Ella was suspicious of everything that Miranda did. She wouldn't let her brothers out of her sight. On the first 3 nights, Miranda found Ella sleeping on the floor in their bedroom. When Miranda tried to get her to go into her own room, she wouldn't budge. Elijah had night terrors, and though he was still asleep, would stand up in his bed in the middle of the night screaming at the top of his lungs. It was during one of those episodes that Ella let Miranda in. Elijah had become uncontrollable, thrashing about, screaming and crying. Ella tried her best to wake him, but it didn't work. Until this point, Miranda had been very careful about how she handled the children, trying her best to gain their trust. She often stood on the sidelines ready to jump in as Ella wrangled with her brother. But this night she could no longer be patient for fear of Elijah hurting himself and Ella. Miranda picked him up, controlling his arms, and then rocked him. She sang songs that her grandmother used to sing to her when she was a child, and eventually Elijah woke up. He cried a bit, but rested on her shoulder, allowing her to envelop him in love. She spoke in a sweet tone, assuring him he was safe until he relaxed into a fitful sleep. When she saw Ella still standing against the door, battling sleep herself, she walked her to her bedroom and tucked her in. After that night, Ella allowed the door to her heart to be left cracked open. It was up to Miranda to maintain patience to be permitted fully inside. Over a few months, the kids and Miranda established a rhythm and continued to build trust. With counseling and support from family and friends, that trust grew and they became a little family. And Robert started to call her mom. It was the moment in Miranda's life that brought her to her knees in thanksgiving. She never thought she would ever hear those words in her life. She knew she did not birth them, but to earn that coveted title was honey to her ears and balm to her soul. Caring for the children was filling the hole inside of Miranda's heart. It gave her purpose and joy, which she realized she had not experienced in a long time. The children went from being behind in school to earning A's and B's, except for Elijah in math, which he hated. Ella was in the drama club and taking dance lessons. Elijah was playing soccer, while Robert preferred to watch in the stands with Mama Miranda. He also enjoyed cooking in the kitchen with her. She bought him his own child-safe knife, cutting board, and apron so he could help her prepare dinner a couple of nights a week. Mama Miranda, there's a man outside asking for you. Robert ran into the living room where Miranda was folding clothes. Oh, okay. Go tell your brother to put away his bike and you two come in and get cleaned up for dinner. Yes, ma'am. Robert ran ahead of her, leaving the front door open. When Miranda got close enough to see who it was, ice and heat ran through her veins. Joe? What are you doing here? And how do you know where I live? Her ex-husband stood on the porch holding a bouquet of lilies. He held them out for her to take, but she folded her arms across her chest. No, thank you. Keep them. But they're for you. What do you want, Joe? He placed the bouquet on the small table on the porch. I see you got the big house that you always wanted. I'm glad your eyes still work at your age. Now, for the last time, what do you want? He dropped his shoulders. You're making this hard. I'm sorry, okay? I messed up and should have never stepped out on our marriage. We had a good thing, and I'm just sorry, and I'm hoping that you will forgive me. Let me guess. The baby wasn't yours, right? What? How did you know? I didn't until now. It was all a mistake. And you know that I never wanted children, but when she told me she was pregnant, I thought about leaving a legacy, so it was a foolish lapse. And like I said, I'm sorry. We had 30 years. Surely you have thought about us, perhaps giving it another chance? Elijah and Robert ran up the porch and into the house. Miranda turned her attention to them. Slow down and go wash your hands. Babysitting? Joe asked. No, Joe, I'm not. I'm fostering them. They are mine for the time being. Mom, I'm hungry. Robert stuck his head out the door. Miranda rubbed his head. I'm coming, baby. Her love radiated through her smile, but when she turned back to Joe, it dropped from her face. Wow. Okay. Well, at least it's temporary. When you are finished with them, maybe we can pick up where we left off. Miranda rested her weight on one hip. Joe, you can take this however you want to, but your leaving me was the best thing that happened to me. I'm happy now, truly happy, and I would not come back to you if you paid me. Now, if you don't mind, get off my porch and never come back. I have nothing else to say to you. Joe's eyes widened in shock because Miranda had never spoken to him in that way before. He pursed his lips in distaste. So you have your little fake family and the big house you always wanted. You didn't think I would find out about the inheritance that you received while we were still married? I can take you to court and demand half, you know, even force you to sell this house. Then what would happen to you and your little family then? It would be wise for you to see things my way. Miranda stood back observing her ex-husband, wondering what she ever seen in him, relieved that the blinders were gone. Joe, that's the problem. I spent 30 years seeing things your way, but that person died when you chose your little fake family over me. Take me to court. Do what you must. It won't change a thing because I get more love from this family than I have ever received from you. I'm never coming back. Now leave. I have to feed my children. When Miranda walked into the house, Ella was sitting at the bottom of the stairs with her head down crying. Oh, sweetheart, what's wrong? I heard you talking outside. I guess you're going back with him, and we have to go away again. Miranda's heart broke as she saw the fear in Ella's eyes. She had given them a safe place and stability, and they had given her motherhood in all of its heartache and glory. It took a while to realize that if her life hadn't gone down that path with Joe, she would have never intersected with Ella and her brothers when they needed her the most. She thought there was only one pathway to being a mother, but God showed her that there were motherless children that needed women to step up and care for them, that being a mother had nothing to do with sharing blood, but everything to do with sharing love. During this journey, she reclaimed the part of herself that she had stripped away with her own hands. She looked Ella in the eyes and said, Never. I would never give you up, not for anyone. You have a home here and here. She pointed to the house and then to her heart. for as long as you wanted. Later that night, Miranda cracked open Ella's bedroom door, peeking inside and seeing Ella fast asleep. Even though she was 11, she looked younger, holding onto a stuffed animal. She was at peace, giving the children the love that they needed and the childhood that they deserved. Gave Miranda something that she never had before: purpose, when she least expected it. If this story spoke to you, you are not alone. Subscribe for a new uplifting story every week.